GM and Chrysler going bankrupt. You have China outpacing the U.S. in car sales. And now we have a whole new year ahead where we have to start all over again, really. Uri's back with us, as is Paul. Uri, what do you think about the auto industry as a whole? I mean, any type of investment opportunities there, whether it's in the traditional autos or maybe even car parts?
You know, I'm not really looking at the auto sector too closely. I think putting your money in the auto sector today is really a gamble. You know, we've seen the Obama administration a marvel of focus and efficiency saving these car companies, but I think this will go down as one of the biggest mistakes in U.S. history. Saving GM and Chrysler, even though they're a big part of our economy, are likely to fall and falter again. It's up to them now that they've gotten rid of these legacy costs. They've been able to shed dealers and rework their contracts. It's up to them now to sell great cars at competitive prices. I don't think they'll be able to do. GM is still hemorrhaging, and this year will go down as one of the worst years in the auto industry. Even next year will probably be the second worst, even if it's up 10%. I mean, look at sales. 10.3 million or 11 million sales is basically down to 1970 levels.
Right.
It's just a horrific situation. The auto industry is a bad place to put your money, and the U.S. auto industry probably even worse.
Yeah, interesting. On that, Paul, when we watch the incentives that we have seen over the last year, whether it's from the government or from the automakers themselves, as far as you watching the markets on a daily basis, what have you seen? Has the market followed the government money? Has it gone the opposite direction? Is there a comparison we can make when we look at the autos?
Well, I mean, I don't know if the government money in the autos, if that really, you see that in the market so much. I mean, you see it just in the fact that GM and Chrysler are still operating. I mean, they were saved. And Uri's right, this wasn't a tough year for the auto industries. This was a catastrophic year. I mean, GM went bankrupt, Chrysler went bankrupt. Chrysler, I still don't know what the future is for that company. General Motors, you have to imagine that they're going to survive, but what you're really going to see now is survival now is going to mean a much smaller auto industry, a much smaller U.S. auto industry. GM's going to be smaller, Ford's going to be smaller, Chrysler is going to be smaller. If God willing, they're
and their cars are getting smaller too.
I mean, not really going to see a big three. What you're really going to have, and this is Paul Ingrassia wrote this in the journal, you're going to have a medium six. You're going to have the 3 U.S. car companies and 3 of the big foreign companies who all have roughly the same market share. The days of GM dominating the global market are well over.
But they are coming out with some new products. I don't know if you've seen this, Uri. Real quick, it's called the Beat. It's a smaller car. GM says that it sees total sales being 100,000 from 70,000. I believe this car right now is in India, or that's where it was, and I think that they're thinking about bringing it to the United States, but it's a mini car. It's just a different car. I mean, can this industry, you think, ever repair itself with just the right vehicle?
I think the problem here is that the government has really bailed out these companies. It's the equivalent of like a parent giving a kid a new car, letting him crash it, and then giving him another new car. Now they have a chance with a brand new car to wreck it again, and I just don't see the U.S. car company being able to create cars that are competitively priced, that are great cars. If you look at the competition, the world auto industry is just getting more and more competitive. You're going to have car companies coming out of India competing, China competing, and there's no sign that General Motors will do a better job than any of these other companies, even though they've shed these legacy costs.
Right.
I don't see in the long term, I don't see a bright future for General Motors.
Yeah, we'll find out that story soon enough, apparently, when we get some of the sales January, February, March of this year. Uri and Paul, thank you very much for that. Again, we'll get those auto sales starting around noon is when we start getting them officially from General Motors and Ford and the like. In the meantime, home sales here in Manhattan are on the climb, but experts aren't jumping for joy just yet. Figures from 5 housing